Okay, so let's look at creating your first notes with your practice chanter. First, I want you to take a look at how I have my hands positioned here. So you notice that my right hand is on bottom and my left hand is on top. On my bottom hand, we're going to be covering the holes with the middle digits of our fingers here, with the exception of the pinky, which we're going to be using the pad of our finger. On the top hand, we're going to be using the pads. And to cover the holes on the top hand, the first hole that we're going to want to cover is the hole in the back, the high A hole. And then we can go 1, 2, 3 with those top hand fingers there. Now, the first note that we're going to create with the chanter is going to be low G. And to create low G, we're going to have all the holes covered. And when we blow through the chanter, we want to make sure that we don't blow too forcefully or too lightly either. So we want to blow forcefully enough to fully resonate the reed without cutting the chanter out if we blow too hard. And then if we blow too lightly, we might get a sound like this. Not too pretty sound, right? So we're going to want to blow a little bit harder than that to get the reed to fully resonate. Should sound like this. Now, if you don't get that kind of sound, it's most likely because one of the other holes on the chanter is not fully covered. So if you don't get that kind of sound that I just played, try it again and adjust your fingers to try and make sure that you're getting full coverage on all the holes. So I'm going to play it for you one more time, and then I'm going to let you try once more as well. So this is the sound that we're looking for. Now you go ahead and try. One more note about your bottom hand positioning. We want to make sure that the thumb on the back of the chanter on your right hand is behind the second finger, more or less. So this is to maintain proper balance of your hand on the chanter. And one way to test if your thumb is in the right place is to hold the chanter with just your right hand and not your left hand. And you'll see that if you move that thumb up too high, it's going to cause your chanter to drift away. And if you move your thumb down too low, it's going to cause your hand to tense up and basically decrease the mobility of that hand there. So as we're doing these bottom hand notes, I want you to try and make sure also that you're keeping your thumb behind that second finger. You'll also notice that on both of my hands, my fingers are nice and relaxed and straight. So we don't want to put our fingers like this. Some of us may have taken recorder in the past in music class, and we were taught to put our fingers this way. This is going to be the opposite. We're going to want our fingers to be straight and relaxed. So let's go ahead and look at the next bottom hand note. This is going to be low A. To go from low G to low A, we're going to want to just raise this pinky finger on the right hand. So low A should sound like this. Now go ahead and try yourself. The next note of the scale is going to be B. To create B, we're just going to lift that third finger and leave these two in place here. B sounds like this. Now you go ahead and try. To go from B to the next note C, we are going to lift that middle finger and put down the pinky finger. So your index finger is going to be placed on the chanter as well as the pinky. These two are going to be up in the air. And C should sound like this. Now you go ahead and try. And the final note of the bottom hand scale is D. D is going to be all the fingers up except for the pinky on the bottom and should sound like this. Go ahead and try yourself. Okay, so now we get to the top hand notes. And all the top hand notes are going to have these three fingers on the bottom covering the holes, and this pinky is going to be up in the air at all times when we're on the top hand notes. The first note of the top hand scale is going to be E, positioning how I have my fingers here. And E sounds like this. Go ahead and try that yourself. The next note of the top hand scale is F. To go from E to F, we are just going to lift this second finger, and only the thumb and your index are going to be covering the holes on the top hand. So the F should sound like this. Go ahead and try yourself. The next note is high G. To go from F to high G, we're just going to lift this index finger, leaving the thumb placed on that hole on the back, and it should sound like this. Go ahead and try yourself. All right, and finally, the last note of the scale is high A. To create high A, we are going to have all the fingers on the top hand off the chanter except for this third finger here. And all these other fingers are going to be basically hanging out, ready to work. High A should sound like this. And go ahead and try. All right, so now that you've been introduced to all the notes of the scale, let's go ahead and learn a little bit of music theory that's going to help us with all the following exercises.